Hello class, good day. I am making this video for you to also see me, virtually because we agreed not to have synchronous classes all the time because of many problems that we are facing right now. But this video will serve also as an introductory part of our first topic for midterms coverage, which will dwell on teaching strategies for the development of literacy skills and teaching resources. So along the way, this video will not take too long because along the way I have recorded PowerPoint presentations as well. Okay, because that's the easiest and convenient way for me, but I'm not saying that it's only limited to that. You could also use like Google Meet, but this time my cameras and videos I think is not working. I'm fixing it right now, so it's best for me. I also would love to use the other strategy of me having my face beside the screen, beside the presentation screen, but I think my browser needs to be updated and there are things that has no technical that I need to fix later, because for the past 2 or 3 days I am also not feeling so well. I have problems. I have a stomach upset for the past few days. So my apologies, class. I'm sorry for telling you that. But just to be honest, in my case as well, because I know you also have, certain problems at home. I know personally, emotionally, we're very much affected with the situation that we are having and we are facing right now. So I hope you are all well right now as you watch this video. Class, along the way, we will have still recorded PowerPoint presentations, and that you will still have an activity task to answer right after the presentation. There will be 2 topics for the midterms. This will be the first one, the teaching strategies for the development of literacy skills and teaching resources. And the second one will be dwelling about the 21st century skill categories. So it will be categorized into learning skills, literacy skills, and of course, life skills. So I will just be giving you notes for that class, no recorded PowerPoint presentations, because after all, you know what, class, in the unified syllabi, there's no present notes for this. So I'll just be the one to create and to consolidate notes for this, okay? So this video and this strategy also will help you decide for the upcoming, for after midterms class until finals. We will be having one synchronous class, and that synchronous class I will be announcing very soon is that you'll have to I'll have to group you into 5 or into 6 to what do you call that, to categorize the topics, to segregate the topics to each of the groupings, to each of the groups, so that you'll have to present as well, because this is a prof ed subject, and the things that has to be polished or the topics that has been missing are all in my part to contribute to you, class, so that you will know the things that are covered in the midterms, or no, in the semifinals and in the finals coverage. Okay, so I will not also leave you with after you present and then that's okay, that's fine, no, without me contributing to the presentation of each group. So I also have my part as well right after each group presentation. So that thing, class, will have to be discussed after midterm, but just to give you a heads up, and that will be happening midterms until finals. But we will have synchronous class before the semifinals week. But for the sake of midterms part, just allow me to finish this video, and after this is we will have the PowerPoint presentation as well. Still, class, the announcements will be in the Google Classroom. I know the activities will be in the Google Classroom. The announcement will still be on our messenger, in our group messenger, so group chat. So whatever problems that you might encounter, class, I reply to you personally, so just message me if you have personal concerns. And as much as possible, class, if you have problems in our class, message me. Do not post it in social media, because it's not going to give you any solution. The best way is to message me, is to reach out for me. something like that. So I hope, class, you will listen with the rest of the slides that I will be recording, because not all of the what do I call it? Not all of the topics present in the notes that I will be sending to you were can all be covered. There are so many things and there are so many topics that are not found in the notes that are covered in the recorded PowerPoint presentation. So you make sure that you can be able to view the entire video. Thank you so much, class, and we'll continue with the rest of the slides. Thank you.
Okay, class, showing to you our first slide of this presentation, which is teaching strategies for the development of literacy skills and teaching resources, since this is also the heart of our first topic for the midterms coverage. Growing up, class, we heard the words literate and illiterate. We knew that people who were literate could read and write, but people who were illiterate could not. We also remember and imagine what it would be like to navigate through the world as an illiterate person. How can we get to from place to place if we couldn't read street signs? How could we cook if we couldn't read a recipe? How would we know if it was safe to take a particular medication if we could not read the label? And so many myriad questions that occupied our minds as a child. But of course, when faced with the prospect of using technology with students, we've also heard several teachers saying, "What I do works for me." Some would resist to the move in the sense of you integrating technology because for them it's unfamiliar and scary. But class, I do not encourage you to do the same, but I even invite you to use technology and media literacy in your own classes. What does it mean to be a literate person in the 21st century? What skills do students need to become successful? Well, of course, it's very important for us to go and to listen along with the following slides, since we will be providing you, or I will be providing you, a strong case for the role of technology in education to develop it, not just traditional literacy, but also technology and media literacy. And this will also serve as our intended learning outcomes for this presentation. So we have first is to demonstrate teaching strategies that will promote literacy. Second is to show skills in the selection, development, and use of age-appropriate instructional resources that will develop literacy and higher order and creative thinking skills. And of course, to design activities appropriate for the development of literacy skills. So along with the presentation, we will be attaining these intended learning outcomes before the topic ends or during the topic presentation. So you have pictures there, a teacher that is presenting teaching strategies, and of course these are the words that are associated with, of course, literacy. Okay, showing you, class, the first image we have there, it's called reading. It's how people install new software into their brains. So unlike before, the basic literacy is only reading and of course writing. But of course the definition of literacy is changing. Literacy means something different today than it did 10 or 20 or 30 years ago. Technology is changing what it means to be literate. So when you say literacy, it's to be quickly evolving to encompass skills that extend beyond reading and writing with pen and paper. So students nowadays are encouraged to navigate the online space for you to successfully access information and opportunities. So literacy, class, is the ability to read and write, but this definition has, spanned, many generations. However, there's of course, it's an encouragement for us to use the latest technological advancements that has brought about a new kind of learning that's not dependent only to books and of course reading. So 21st century present nowadays is for us to use our new innovations and of course dependency on technology in all parts of our lives, but not to control us future teachers, but technology as an aid, as previously discussed in our first topic, technology as an aid, class, but not to control us, but not to make us, of course, robots. Now, next image shows the stages of the evolution of man grouped together all the way from primates to today's modern man. So I think some of you are familiar with Homo sapiens, Homo erectus, Homo habilis and stuff. I just don't, we're able to make it in sequence. But of course, it's a development from primate to today's modern man. And of course, literacy class today is what separated the primates from the other men wearing a suit. You see there, literacy is what gave the man the ability to fly and reach anything possible. So the last goal there is the man on top. He's holding a newspaper and books, and we can assume that it represents his ability to be literate. So this is not accurate skill of literacy for the 21st century at all, but it's all about giving a scale as to how being a literate person in the 21st century can fly and can reach anything possible, because it's all about constant growth by learning more about new modes. So we have to be adaptable to the changes. We need to be flexible with the modern era that is we are facing right now. The next image class would also tell us that the evolution of traditional to new media. In this 21st century, it means class to have mastered the art of evolving. In this day and age, to be considered successful, we need to adapt quickly to different changes, may it be political, social, technological, or societal. So we also have here, again, the evolution of man. So you have here the first man is holding a newspaper, second man is holding a radio or a cassette, third is holding a television, fourth man is holding a laptop or a computer, and of course the last man is holding a cell phone. Being a digital native right now. So are you, class. You are all digital natives, meaning to say you can all manipulate to the usage of cell phones, to usage of gadgets in one click. You can use and create anything what you wanted to have. So truly, class, being literate is being able to engage in various forms of text, but also being able to evaluate those texts of what they are for. So just like the evolution of writing in here. So really, class, being literate in the 21st century means to have mastered. Showing you also, class, the classroom setting that you will soon be having. So this is quite advanced because the pictures here are taken from, of course, from another country. It's not in the Philippine setting, but of course you'll soon have your own classrooms, and this time in your future classrooms, class, using technology, it can be used to encourage teamwork, because learning is not just an independent process. It's imperative for teachers to include lessons that are not just reading and writing, but of course technology and other forms of literature. So you can have that. You could ask your kids to make a movie trailer. You can ask your kids to design a map, to write a song, or to make a political cartoon, allowing children who are literate in other areas such as music or art to create something that is meaningful to them. So you don't just teach the fish how to climb because they really cannot climb, but just to utilize the skills that they have. Because I also believe, class, that there's no thing as a student who doesn't love to read. It's just that they were not able to find good books for them. And if you were able, as a facilitator, as a teacher, you were able to give them good books for them to read, then your students will really love to read, class. And also, class, the next image is, of course, another way of encouraging the students to follow up of facilitating the students, of making sure that they know really the topics assigned to them. Most especially graders, they need to be assisted all through the while. This image, class, will show as to how important it is for the students to try new things, to work with students to find where learning is also most comfortable or comfortable for them to succeed. So after all, class, literacy is an ever-changing concept, which of course people must dedicate themselves to understanding in order for them to become literate in the 21st century. Class, but for the next few slides, since I am just presenting to you the ever-changing concept of literacy, because after all, the focus of our of our course or our subject is really all about building and enhancing new literacies across the curriculum. But for this topic of midterms, we will start first with beginning teaching and reading, because that's also important for us to connect as well with the new literacy that we are to teach with our classes in the next years to come, of course. In elementary education, there are two main approaches to teaching young students how to read. So you have there the title, Teaching Basic Literacy in an Alphabetic Writing System. And these two are the following: phonics instruction and whole language instruction. So I was able to summarize the differences of phonics from whole language instruction. So some cases would say that one program may be better suited to the needs of the child. However, most children would benefit from a blend of both learning programs. We will start with the left side, phonics instruction, since this is the standard way of really starting to teach the children how to read, because you have there children needed to break down a complex skill such as reading into its smallest components for easy comprehension. So basically, this means that children need to break up sentences by words, then down to letters for pronunciation. So for instance, a child will look at a word and dissect it into each letter's sound, and then they will pronounce the word. As they continue, they will learn how letters sound when grouped together. So as a result, they learn to pronounce unfamiliar words that look intimidating to them. So what I mean to say, class, basically very simple of phonics instruction is this one. So since some of you are future elementary teachers, because this is for elementary and high school, this subject is for elementary and high school. So we have, for example, the word bat or bravo, alpha, tango. So when you teach the child using phonics instruction, so you will use first the printed letter, for example, of B, of B. So you will say pa, 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 and the next word is ah, and then ta, ta, ta. So until they will say bat. So in phonics instruction, this skill will connect the printed letter to the correct sound. So for example, if you show flashcards of B, so that's the printed letter of B, so you will say pa, 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 and then printed letter of A, you will say ah, and then T is ta, ta, ta. So now, if as a teacher you show a pupil the letter B and the child says pa, 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 they will able to sound like Q, then you are teaching phonics, and that's phonics instruction. So in that way, class, they learn how to blend the groups of letters. So for example, a phonics instruction is when you show what do you call that, fruits, for example, starting in STR or Shara Tango Romeo, so you'll say str, so you will say str, something like that. So they can recognize the same str pattern, in other words, can be associated with a fruit like strawberry. So something like that. Well, there are so many exercises to enhance phonics instruction. Just like, for example, class. This is very beautiful if you face the pupils in front of you, because you can really think of the strategies to use. But just to let you imagine of the things that you can do under phonics instruction is that, for example, as a teacher, you place baskets there. Like for example, if you only have available 5 baskets, then you label each basket as A, B, C, D, and E, and then you will give to the students flashcards as well with fruits, for example, with words like apple, with B for bat, C for cat, and then they have to place in the corresponding basket as to where that letter belongs, as to where that word belongs. So in that way, after also that, they could pronounce the words, and they can be more, familiarizing the words and the letters altogether. So again, for example, for the bat, if they put in the B basket the bat, and you ask them, how do you pronounce that? We will start with the letters pa pa pa, ah ah ah, and t ta ta ta. So another strategy class is also when teachers, I think we remember during our elementary years, when they pull a flashcard with a snake figure, and there's a word snake with a snake image, and there's a word snake, and they will say, what's the sound of a snake? And then pupils would say shh. So that's an indication that the start of the snake word is S, and therefore you are teaching phonics. You connect the printed letter to the correct sound. And that's phonics instruction class. That's a bottom-up approach where students decode the meaning of the text. In that way also, class, you teach your children how to read well and spell the words well. That's very, very important. They can recognize the word, they can spell it, they can pronounce it, they can sound the words through letter recognition. Young students also memorize how to read the words in front of them. So that's the basics, that's the logic of phonics instruction. Okay, class, so its advantages would include it builds better pronunciation, it reinforces word recognition, it can use systematic approach to decode unfamiliar words, and there's less memory intensive and guesswork because it's clear. Now, class, opposite to phonics instruction is the whole language instruction. It has there's less time as focused on repetition learning. In fact, it only focuses on the flow and theme of the text, emphasizing meaning and relating to young students. So in this class, students do not sound out words as they do in phonics. However, at times they use creative writing to make stories. So the downside part there, sorry, is that the spelling of the students are most likely are incorrect because it did not involve decoding the words. But it helps the student learn the process of writing and reading. It has this definition that it helps the student learn the process of writing and reading, and it's also a top-down approach where the reader constructs a personal meaning for a text based on using their prior knowledge to interpret the meaning of what they are reading. Proponents of the whole language philosophy believe that language should not be broken down into letters and combinations of letters and decoded. Instead, they believe that language is a complete system of making meaning with words functioning in relation to each other in context. They also think that children should learn to read entire words by sight. They learn the word's meaning. So you have there, it has its great deal of emphasis upon rich oral language experiences and upon the holistic act of reading itself. So here's an example of how it works. So the teacher reads a short story to the class, something with the children's experience. So it might be, for example, about a new pupil starting school. So included in the story are some keywords, for example, girl, boy, teacher, friend, lunch. And these keywords are put up on the board for the children to see. After that, the teacher then discusses how the words are spelled, what they mean, and gets the children to practice writing them. So like method focusing on children learning to read by picking and retaining words that interests them. So much is the same way as they develop vocabulary, but it just that it doesn't involve repetition and it does not break down reading into its smallest components like phonics instruction does. So you have their whole language doesn't have a written formula to follow. So word identification often is like guesswork for children. So because they believe that children should learn to read entire words by sight, and its emphasis is in the entirety of the whole language. So it's more of making and connecting to the children's experiences with the text being read. But it also develops, of course, vocabulary retention. But when you start, of course, teaching how the students and how to read, then phonics instruction would be the best than whole language instruction. But if the student can already know how to read, then whole language instruction would follow thereafter. In whole language instruction, there the children could learn words in context, they could understand also the text, and they could establish more interesting and creative approach